What if the reason your patients aren't coming back has nothing to do with your clinical skills and everything to do with the fact that you never asked them why? If you are not gathering feedback from your patients, you are literally flying blind because they may smile and nod and act like everything is okay, but you never know what's going on behind the scenes unless you ask. In this episode, we're going to talk about 4 simple survey strategies that will help you improve your practice, keep those patients coming back, and help you collect amazing testimonials that do your marketing for you. And you don't need any fancy tech. I'll show you how. Welcome to the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Ronda, your no fluff, tell it like it is business bestie for wellness practitioners just like you who want to build a practice you love and make a bigger impact and a little money while you're at it. So if you're ready to ditch the overwhelm, attract your dream, ideal patients, and finally run your practice with complete confidence, you're in the right place. Each week, we're tackling things from programs to patient retention to marketing strategies that actually work, sprinkled, of course, with a little sass, a lot of heart, and the step-by-step strategies that will help you get there. So grab your cup of coffee, your notebook, or whatever keeps you going, and let's build a practice you love and a life you love together. This can be uncomfortable, this topic. It makes me nervous too, still sometimes. But I'm going to tell you, I think I've talked about this before. It might have been a couple year or two ago that we had this conversation, but here's the premise, right? Think about if you've ever been somewhere and you had a not so great experience, like someone was rude or there was something that you wanted to feedback you wanted to give. We call this like a review, right? So you may not be the type of person that's going to leave a bad review, but was it easy for you or did anybody ever follow up so that you knew how to give that feedback? I know I've had that experience. Like I'll be in a business. It just happened to me not long ago. Actually, I went back to a business owner that I knew and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know this is what happened. And as a business owner, I'm telling you this because you may want to know so that you can make the adjustments." And the business owner got mad and called me a liar. I thought, wow, look at that saucy bit coming through right there. Yeah, he flat out said, "We don't have a top policy for that. We don't tolerate that." And someone was shouting expletives about me that were as off color, way more off color than I should ever share on here. And I just said to the owner, "Listen, I just need to let you know that happened." And he said, "No, it didn't happen." So I tried to go through the channel that I had, but even in any normal, regular business interaction, like how do you provide feedback that helps that business get better? Well, the same thing could be happening with your patients. There may be something that you're doing, something that your staff is doing, something that is rubbing them the wrong way, something that's bothering them that they don't like. You don't know. You can't see it. You're flying blind, friend, not because you're intentionally trying to do anything wrong, but because we only see things through our lens from our perspective. If I look into a house from the front yard, all I can see is what I can see. I can see maybe a living room, maybe a dining room, and maybe there's a bedroom window there. I don't know. But if I go around the back side of the house, I have a completely different perspective. And so what we want to do is engage the patients into being able to provide us with this feedback. So to do this, it takes some cojones. Okay, I'm going to just say it. It takes guts. I know you have them because you've been following me and hanging around with me for a long time. This takes cojones. It totally does because you're going to get feedback back that you're not going to want to hear. But remember that the reason that we do these feedback surveys, and I've got 4 kinds. I'm going to go over 4 different ones with you, and they're not all horrible, like bad. But you may get some feedback that says, I didn't feel like Dr. Mike was listening during our conversation, and I didn't want to come back because I felt like he was distracted and I had to say the same thing 3 times and he acted like he didn't hear me. That's painful, but it's probably true. And so, Mr. Mike, Dr. Mike, you got to take that information and say, you know what? 100% right. I got to own that. And I'm going to make sure that I'm fully present moving forward. That's all. It's feedback that at first might be a little painful, but if you take it as feedback as a way to improve the way that you do what you do in your practice, in your business, then it is literal gold. And then when you start making these changes, your patients go, oh my gosh, I left them that feedback and they did it. They moved those pillows that were so gross on the chairs in the front that make the chairs uncomfortable, and they moved them and they're not there anymore. Like, they really do listen. Do you get that? So it's a huge business booster, but it does take some cojones. So first type of feedback, I'm going to call them survey. Okay. I'm going to talk about a survey or feedback, kind of the same thing. The first one is a post-appointment feedback survey that's sent 24 to 48 hours after your first appointment, the first new patient appointment, or any major visit. Like, if you haven't seen someone in a long time, or you're bringing someone back in for a reevaluation, kind of one of those major ones. But for sure, a new patient appointment is a major one. Now, there are a few simple questions, and I have resource for you in this episode that you're going to want to download. It has all these questions listed. It has an email template. It has everything you need to kind of get this started. But just don't go there yet in the show notes. Just hang tight. So here's the questions that you want to ask. Was there anything unclear or confusing about your recent appointment with us? What did you enjoy the most about your appointment? What could we do better? How could we improve what we do? Something like that. And then there's something that's called an NPS score, and it stands for Net Promoter Score. And in my opinion, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but in my opinion, an NPS, Net Promoter Score, the NPS is literally the temperature gauge for your business. It measures your engine temperature. It tells you how healthy you are or not. An NPS question, the first question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends and family? That's the question. How likely are you to recommend us to your friends and family on a scale of 1 to 10? If you get 6s all the time, your car's about to come apart. Your business is in trouble. If you get 8s, 9s, and 10s, you are golden. You're golden. You're perfect. It's a great thing. The next question that follows that is, what gave you the ability to give this number? In other words, why did you use this particular number? Now we've just asked them for a number, but now we're also asking them to tell us why. Now, the why, let's say that they gave you a 10. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, Dr. Jim, it's the best chiropractor ever, best acupuncturist, best wellness, just so caring. The staff is amazing. They blah, blah, blah. Go on and on and on and on and on. There's a great testimonial. And then you follow up and say, would you mind if we shared it? Beautiful. You didn't even ask for it. All you did was say, why did you give us this number? It's the best way to get a testimonial, through the back door. So, NPS score. So you can add that NPS score to that post-appointment survey. But basically, that new patient survey needs to go out. How would you rate your overall experience? What did you love? What did you not love? What could we do better? And then add those 2 NPS questions. So, and if they give you a great review, then you ask them if you can share it as a testimonial. If they don't, and they give you a 6, this is the cojones part where you go like, oh, and you say, what caused you, why did you feel like that was the best number to give us, or why did you give us that rating? And they're going to let loose on you. They're probably going to tell you, Dr. Mike was distracted, or there was a dog barking out in the parking lot. Sometimes people complain about things you have no control over. But whatever it is, you really want their feedback. Like, how can I turn the 6 into a 10? And then you go to work and you try and figure that out. So now, to do this type of a survey, there's a couple ways you can do it. If you ask the questions just straight in an email body, that's probably not the best way to do it. There are tools, though, that are great for this. And there are several of them, but the one that I would probably use is the one that it's called Google Form. You could use, it's just Google Forms. It's real easy. There's another one that's called Typeform. That's the one that we use a lot. It's pretty reasonable, the monthly for that. They have a free plan, but there's also a monthly plan. But I love Typeform. They're very professional. It's easy to use. You can weight the questions. You can kind of get into the weeds with it. If you have practiced better, You can also use Practice Better and send out a follow-up email and ask them for their feedback. You can do that. But I love, if I had to choose, I love Typeform. And there's pros and cons with each one. And I talk about those later. So here's what you want to do. That new patient survey, you want to review those. Like as soon as that survey comes back to you, you really want to review and then take action. If you need to write a note to the patient, if you need to adjust something with your front desk staff, whatever it is, you want to take action. The patient is watching. They're watching. They're watching to see, I gave feedback to Dr. Ronda, and now what's going to happen? And when they see that there's been action taken, it builds trust. It builds trust. They're like, wow, they really do take this to heart. I feel safe here. I feel like I can be who I need to be here. So taking action, don't just get it and then get mad. Just take it like a man or a woman and make the adjustments and then move on. All right, second feedback point is the midpoint check-in. So this is sent about halfway through what you would estimate their treatment plan, right? So they've got one in the beginning. And then let's say you have them in a 6-week program, or maybe you have them in a 6-month program or 4 months, whatever it is. About halfway through, we want to send them another opportunity to kind of give us feedback. The goal here is to see if they're stuck, if they're feeling confused, and to let them know that, I got you. Like, I really want to know how you're doing. It gives you that real-time ability to have real-time feedback about your program if you have them in a structured program. So questions could be like, how are you feeling about your progress so far? Oh, that's a little vulnerable because they could come back and say, I don't think anything is working and I've spent all this money and that's never a conversation that we like to have. But we need to navigate those. And we also need to know if everyone that's going through your program says the exact same thing at their 3-week mark, hello, you may want to go back and make some adjusting. You could also ask them, what's been the most helpful part or the most beneficial part of this process? Another question is there anything that you're struggling with? Maybe they're saying, I can't log into my portal, or I'm having trouble getting my supplements reordered, or they're out of stock, or just listen to what they have to say. And then what support would be most helpful for you right now? What support could I provide for you that would be the most helpful? And they often will end up giving you ideas about ways that you can improve what you do, which is great. This is why we get feedback. So you want to create some kind of a trigger or a reminder. I love using a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet just has columns, right? A column for their name and their date, the date they came in, and then when they started the program, and then when that trigger needs to happen. And then you or your staff can just check that once a week and send it out. Just send that follow-up assessment. So we want to just make sure that we're checking in with them. It's real easy. I get caught in this all the time where I'll just say, okay, I'll see you in a month. And then I don't follow up. And I think I dropped the ball there because people want to know that I care. Not that, I don't think that they inherently think that I don't care, but it sure goes a long way when there's an action that is in alignment with my words. I think that builds a lot of credibility and trust and safety. So the third way that you can get feedback is just to get this flat up to get a testimonial. It's just a standalone survey that is sent at a point where they are really excited. They've just completed their program and they are on cloud 9. You've resolved their anxiety. They're pooping again. Their headaches are gone. Their digestive issues, whatever it is that you're working on, they are on cloud 9. They're so happy. They've had a huge transformation. Their life is better. They're a better mom, better husband, better employee, better whatever. You want to catch them right there. And these are some questions. And again, it's in the resource that I have for you. I'll give that to you in a minute. And it's also linked in the show notes. But you're going to want to ask them things like, where were you struggling? What were your primary struggles before we started working together? And then what changes have you experienced since starting care? How has your life improved? How has your family dynamic changed? And then I also like to ask, what would you tell someone who is considering working with me? It feels a little vulnerable, but I would really like to know what would you say about me or about working with me or my staff and I? And then I always say, can I use your name and your feedback as a testimonial? So the same thing, you can, with all of these, you can use a Google form. It's very plain. It's not branded. It's not pretty, but it's functional and it's free. You can also use Typeform. That's my favorite. And if you use Practice Better, you can also set it up inside there. But you can add it to the end of your program if you have like a structured program like we talk about in Clinical Business Academy. And you can also use ChatGPT. If you have a good testimonial, you can give it to ChatGPT and have ChatGPT turn that into a case study. You can give it some examples and you can get some mileage out of it that way. All right, the last one is what I referred to earlier, and that's that Net Promoter Score. Every once in a while, you may want to just randomly send these questions out. It's a really good way to have a pulse on your practice. It's like taking vital signs on someone, right? You listen to their heart and their lungs and their blood pressure, all the things. The NPS is the vital sign indicator of the health of your practice. Are you about to die or are you thriving? And so the NPS is that first question. Remember I said it's that very first question. And that question helps you identify the people that are going to be your biggest fans. And the question is, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer us to a friend or family member? Easy. Or refer us to others, something like that. But on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer us? So the 9s and the 10s, those are your promoters. They're going to promote you and sing your praises forever. The 7 and 8s, they're passive. They're good. Like, they're good. It's like, yep, the food's good here. Not anything I would write home about, but it's good. I'd come back. Those are satisfied, but not overly enthusiastic. They're just kind of middle of the road. Your 0 to 6ers, those are what we call detractors. The detractors, there's a high risk that they're going to ghost you and or leave a bad review. So by using this NPS rating system, you can find out who are your promoters, your 9s and 10s, who are the passives, the 7s and the 8s, and then who are the detractors, the 0 to 6s. And then you want to work on seeing how you can get those scores up into the 9s and the 10s. It gives you the why. So remember I said about that second question? The second question is just, what's the biggest reason that you chose that number? And that gives them the opportunity to leave you real raw feedback. And if they're happy, they're going to just be singing your praises. And if they're not happy, they're going to rip you a new one. And you got to be willing to hear it. And it might be because there was a dog barking in the parking lot and I heard a tree scratching against the side of the building during the appointment. It was distracting. Really? I actually had both of those things come out of different people's mouths. Yeah. They were not happy because there was a scratching branch from a tree during a windstorm on the outside of the building and they didn't like it. Like, okay, bye. You're not my person. So, sometimes you get back things that you can't control. But if it's something you control, then do something about it. So this just gives you such a great pulse on what's happening in your business. It helps you spot those detractors, and either get rid of them, help them find another provider, or, see if there's anything you can do to change their mind. But it's hard to change a detractor into a passive or a promoter. It's hard. Usually it's a personality thing. They're just grumpy always. They just meh all the time. So, all right. How are we going to implement this? Well, I gave you the tools. So first, Google Forms is one. And I have more about this in the resource that I'm going to give you. You can go to rondanelson.com/patient feedback. It's really simple. rondanelson.com/patient feedback. So if you go there, you can download the form. But what I want you to think about is, how can you add the NPS score to really everything that you send out? So if you're going to add that NPS score, you want to add that to your 24 to 48 hour new patient survey. You want to add it to your midpoint survey. You want to add it to a testimonial. Well, you kind of have it in the testimonial anyway. Or you can just send it out as a plain NPS, like, I just want to know, what do you think? Would you refer us? And what led you to give us that score? and you want to find out what is happening with your practice. This is the best ways. These patient feedback surveys, I'm telling you, they're like gold. They're hard. You got to have what's to be able to handle the feedback, but the feedback is for your benefit. It's good. It's kind of like having a hard discussion with your spouse. And it's hard when you're in the middle of it, but at the end, you're both better people because of it. So there you go. You can also use, don't forget, if you want to format different questions, like I've got them listed in the resource, but if you want to format different questions, go for it. Like format them in the way that you want. I just put the sample questions in the resource for you, but yeah, format them however you want. And then also in that resource, rondanelson.com/patient feedback, there's also some email scripts for you. And each of the email scripts has a couple of options. So there's an option A and there's an option B. They just have a different kind of a tone to them. But here's the thing. You literally could take that email, you could copy it with either option A or option B, and you could put it into ChatGPT or other AI, and you could just say, please rewrite this in my tone, make it sound like it comes from me, because it's Ronda, like I wrote it. So it's probably going to be, I tried to keep this pretty neutral. I'm a little more animated in my emails and my correspondence, lots of exclamation points for me, but you may not be that way. So you can just ask ChatGPT to help you as well. So there you go, friend. That's it. That's it for this week. When your patients feel supported, heard, loved on, and that you're taking action, it really does make all the difference in the world. The relationship between the two of you deepens, the results are better, they're more committed, and the word of mouth goes way up, and you end up getting amazing, great testimonials. And you don't need a bunch of fancy tech. You literally, if you want to just start right away, Google Forms. They're free. They're free. You don't have to pay anything. They're not fancy, but they'll work. It'll work. So again, go to rondanelson.com/patient feedback. Go grab the patient feedback roadmap. That's the name of the document that's in there. And if you're loving all of this, leave me a review or send me a message at Dr. Ronda Nelson on Instagram and Facebook and let me know what's been most helpful. Give me the feedback because I would really love it. I don't always have all of y'all's emails, so I can't send you a survey, but let me know. Like, give me some feedback. I got the cojones, baby. I can handle it. All right. Until next time, let's build the practice and the life that you've always wanted, but let's do it together. See you next week.